Hey guys, this is a video to introduce you to the new wool pads. This is version 2 of our wool pads. This one in particular is used. I've been using this we've been using these, some of these, and just tweaking them a little, and this is the final version of what they will be. They're a significant deviation from the first wool pad that we had. The very first wool pad we had was a return to wool. It was very well received, but also wasn't perfect, and we've been listening to our customers, listening to professional detailers, and doing a lot of development ourselves, finding out what we could improve, and we've made a number of adjustments, but you'll see that this one is just a huge deviation from what the old one was. So gone are the cross hatch or the striped configuration and placement of the yarn, and we've gone back to an old style. It's not twisted, but it's an old style placement of the wool, with the wool on the edge there. It hangs off the edge, which is important. We've also got a center hole, which is important depending on the size. We do have a few sizes. This is a very used 90mm or 3-inch. Doesn't need a hole in the center. And this is a 150mm or 6-inch. This one hasn't done too much work, probably 50 to 60 cars. This tiny little 3-inch one, a lot of work. You would have seen this doing a significant amount of work in the 992 GT3 RS detail video, which is the last video we posted. This is responsible for doing all of the cutting, the detailed cutting in, cutting around door handles, etc., and was just so useful for reasons I'll explain later on in this video. And this is the one we probably use, so it gets the most use, the most hours went into testing this particular size. This is between 125 and 135 millimeters. I find this is what I do most of my bulk correction with. Actually, it's not the bigger pad. This 6-inch is just a little bit too big for me. Some detailers would disagree, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just find for the shapes and the type of cars I do, that slightly smaller size is more beneficial. It's not much, as you can see. It's really not much there, not much in it. But for the bulk correction, to use the 5-inch instead of 6-inch is just better for me. However, we're going to have this available in the 6-inch, in the 5-inch, and in the 3-inch size. And we've got it's a different pad with slightly different fibers, only slightly different, but the different configuration. I've got it all the way down into 10 millimeters, so you can do some of the really fine detailed work. I'm excited about this, the version 2 of the wool pads, because it solves all the issues we had with the first ones. So there weren't many, but the biggest issue was the fibers were very short, which helped. They were designed that way for a reason, but because they were so short, you had to clean them out more often, or you had to change to new pads. And what I found I was doing was using 4 pads per car. At the end of the job, I was washing 4 pads. Not a big deal, but we thought if we could resolve that, which we have by having much more fibers. That longer nap and the thicker fibers just give you a little bit more loading. You have more polish in the pad before it needs to be cleaned or replaced. Cleaning is much easier. I grab the pad, I wash it out with cold, high pressure water. Now these are wool and it's set in foam just like the last ones, so you don't want to put too much pressure into these. If you destroy that foam layer, the structure of the pads is gone. So as you would do with foam, just be very careful not to put too much pressure. Don't put aggressive chemicals. I find you don't need any chemical at all. These 2 pads are still dirty. This is how they end up after a car. And this 2 pad I gave a very quick clean, as you see in this B-roll here. Very quick clean with just water, a brush and some air, and it's nice and fluffy again and ready to cut. I find cleaning them immediately very important. So at the end of the day, at the end of that job, that's when you clean the pads. Try not to allow the polish to dry up overnight or even a few days. If you come back in a few days, the polish is so dry the amount of cleaning required is much more significant. And then what tends to happen is people tend to put too much pressure. They use aggressive chemicals trying to break down the hardened polish. So the key to cleaning the wool pads, which are easy to clean, is just not to be lazy with them. At the end of the job, while the polish is still wet, that's the best time to get the polish out of there. Now, we recommend cap heavy with these for two reasons. Cap heavy is designed to work with the pad and vice versa, and cap heavy is easily rinsed with water. If you use another polish, I won't be able to help you with any cleaning issues, because I won't know how that polish works, especially if the polish is solvent based. They tend to harden very quickly, and it's very difficult to get out of the pads without putting significant pressure and destroying the pad again. This is probably the biggest point of difference too from the original pads, is these are much easier to clean, much faster and easier to clean and dry than the original foam pads. I know that it's, the difference between 1 or 2 or 5 minutes at the end of the day isn't much, but it's not the most exciting thing to do at the end of a job, to clean pads. It's something I just want to get over and done with. It's important, it's going to be done well, but if I can improve that to make that quicker and easier, that's a good point of difference, and that's what we've achieved here. Second point of difference is it's still wool. It's still the D-bird wool. That's the important thing. This is not cheap wool with birds. This has been refined, where all the birds have been removed from the yarn. So this is very fast cutting because it's wool. It also has the other nice wool characteristic where it keeps the surface temperatures down, so you can put a fair bit of speed into these, and you get your correction done very quickly, and you don't have to worry as much about the friction causing heat like you would with a foam pad. That's what you want. In the refining stages, that's not a big issue, but in the cutting stages, heavy cutting stages, heat is a real big issue, and if you can remove that, you do. That's why we had the original foam pad, and we've kept those same characteristics with this one because of the wool yarn. The third pro for having a wool pad and using wool pad for cutting versus the foam pad is the aggressive cutting action. These will cut very fast and very efficiently. Why that's important for a professional detailer, combined with a polish that's fast, of course. If you've got a slow working polish that has long working times, then the wool is going to help, but you're still going to have those long working times. So if you use this in conjunction with cap heavy, you'll find very fast working times, and that means for every hour that you're working on your car, you're getting much more correction done. Your customer is getting more per hour, or you're getting more per hour. There's either more profit for you per hour, or the customer gets the car done cheaper, and you get the car turned around faster, or a mixture of all of those three. It just pays to use wool rather than foam when it's the new D-bird wool type, and when you're using in conjunction with a fast working polish, than it does to use foam for the heavy cutting step. Another good point of these is they can be used for rotary, and they can be used for DA machines. So I use a little 75mm pad usually on rotary to do the cutting in, and then I switch over to the wool pad on rotary for the bulk correction. But sometimes, just a couple of times, I use this with a Beetlejuice polisher. Our Beetlejuice is a 15mm orbit machine with quite a powerful motor, and the combination of Beetlejuice and this 5-inch wool pad was just brilliant. I was doing a white car, a silver car, a gunmetal grey car, and I finished off in one step with this combination. Sure, it would have refined up more if I had have used a second step and stepped down to a finer combination. I would have had more gloss, but that particular job required me to achieve the maximum amount of correction for the time, and to keep time to a minimum. And the white, silver and grey cars, gunmetal grey cars especially, looked so good and came up so well with a 15mm Beetlejuice random orbit and wool pad and cap heavy, that it was a single stepper. I was amazed. I thought there'd be some trace marks and things, but they look so good. I did try it on some darker colours and a couple of black cars, including a Chinese built vehicle, which had very soft paint. I can't explain why. should have had trace marks. That didn't. But then I went to another black vehicle, Japanese manufactured vehicle, black paintwork. This left very, very light trace marks, and I had to quickly go over it with a second stepper. So it is achievable on some paint types, but definitely on all paint types for light colors, you're going to achieve a one stepper with a very, very aggressive heavy cutting wool pad and cap heavy, which is amazing. Last point I'll make about these is the durability. Like I said, these two pads in particular, the 3-inch and the 5-inch, these have done hundreds of hours, and these are the pads that have done that work, and these will be good to go by the looks of it for another 100 or 200 hours. That's amazing. I'll never get that out of a foam pad. I tend to, as I spur the pad after every panel, which you should, I tend to reduce the amount of material on a foam pad so that I get about 50 to 100 hours of good quality, a nice finish on the foam. Then it's still flat, but it's just a little bit choppy for the next couple of 100 hours. And after about 250 to 300 hours, it's done, it's finished, and I can't use that for correction anymore. I think that I'll probably get about anywhere between 400 and 600 hours out of one of these foam pads. So a significant bit more durability and more life out of a wool pad than a foam pad. Again, not for finishing. These aren't for finishing. You can finish up some paint types and some colors. These are more for your fast, heavy cutting, and especially good on really, really hard paints. Anything from Europe that was built in the last couple of years, it has very, very hard clear. If you find you're spending too much time trying to remove imperfections, or just you just wouldn't prefer to use less speed and reduce the risk, this is going to help a lot. So wool in conjunction with cap heavy. This is the version 2 of the wool pads. We no longer will sell the version 1, no longer offer them. Actually, they're out of stock right now. These will replace them in the next few days. So by the time you're seeing this video, you'll see these available on the online store at finalinspection.com.au. I hope that was interesting. I hope it helps. I hope that you find it as big as an upgrade as we did from the version 1s. And any comments about how to use them or any feedback, I'd really very much appreciate it. You can leave some comments, send us an email, give me a phone call, anything you like. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.